It's day 2 of Accountex 2018, and I think it's fair to say the hottest of hot topics around the auditorium has been GDPR. 4 little letters and a whole heap of trouble for accountants. So as at time of recording, the regulation comes in tomorrow. So joining us to discuss what accountants have done and should be doing to comply, I'm delighted to welcome Annabel Kaye, who is co-founder of Coffee Clatch and has been presenting on GDPR for the ACCA. Hi, Annabel.
Thanks for inviting me.
Lovely stuff. And here is Matt Port, who is director of Port and Co, accounting firm down in Taunton. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Tom.
And finally, last but not least, is Ian Belcher from Tax Calc. You're the Chief Information Officer.
Yes.
And I believe they're Data Protection Officer. Is that?
I have many hats. They're great. Thanks.
My goodness. Fantastic. So let's kick off with you, Annabel. We've been getting a flood of emails recently. I think everyone with an email inbox will know exactly what I'm talking about. Have a lot of these been necessary? How much good practice and bad practice have you seen?
I think there's a complete muddle going on because you need consent to send email marketing material to people, and you always have. So if you were properly consented under the old rules, today's rules, and you haven't changed anything, you're going to be properly consented under tomorrow's rules, as long as everybody positively opted in. If not, you do need to reconsent, but now is a mad moment to do it when 4 million other people are doing it. If you're talking about emailing existing customers about don't forget to get your tax return in, you don't need consent. So there's no need to bury my email box in an avalanche of do you still love me or is this goodbye?
I think it's been used a bit as a marketing opportunity as well, hasn't it?
It's not been a very good one. Everyone I talk to is extremely irritated by it. I don't know of anyone who's made a sale to someone they weren't otherwise trading with as a result of spamming their inbox in order to improve their privacy.
So Matt, as the owner of an accounting firm, how has Port and Co prepared for GDPR?
So we took a risk-based approach. We started a long time ago looking at the data that we had, how it was communicated to us. As a payroll bureau, we've got a lot of personal and sensitive data. Our biggest challenge was our clients, educating them what to send to us, how to send it. We'd always had secure portals, but a lot of people will just exchange information by email. So we've educated them on the use of our portals and sort of put policies in place around that.
And how difficult's that been? I mean, the client education piece and sort of getting everything ready.
It's been a challenge. The client education has been difficult, but we started a long time ago. We set ourselves a false deadline so that we told people that we weren't doing it from the 1st of April. So we had a little bit of non-compliance, but now they're in the groove with it. Our challenge has been, you've seen a raft of privacy notices coming out from the various tech companies this week, and we've had to ensure that our subcontractors, so the tech companies that we provide the data to, are compliant, and we've kind of had to react to that a little bit to a certain extent.
It's an interesting one. Who is now responsible? So yeah that is fascinating stuff. Ian, obviously from a software perspective, you deal with a lot of clients. How, in terms of a sort of spectrum of preparedness, do you see a lot of accounting firms who are ready, a lot who aren't? What's the scale looking like?
It's been a real spectrum. Talking to people over the last couple of days, there are some people who are genuinely only looking at it now, which there are some who are in that position. There's also people who are basically coming up and discussing all the things they've done, all the actions they've taken, like you could self, and it's amazing. They've got it all covered, and they're kind of, nevertheless, there's still kind of like a need for like reassurance. There's really like a lot of requirement for reassurance out there, I think, because a lot of the guidance from the ICO, for example, is very principle-based and aspirational-based. It's how much do you think you have done? So it's a big range of...
Yeah, and obviously Tax Calc are launching a sort of specific GDPR Centre. Can you just talk me through, quickly how that's going to work for accounting firms?
very simply, all the actions that have been described, which you have to do, all the assessments you have to do, all the registers that you need to keep, we've just made an app, essentially, inside TaxCalc itself, where you can track that information. By collating it all together, instead of having it in various spreadsheets or other documents, it just gives one location to record all those things. And then we combined it with some of our like simple step technology, where we give like step by step, think of this and then think of this and then answer this question and answer this question. It's all heavily based on the ICO guidance. And the most important thing is it's there to help and to organise, but there's still the hard work of the actual assessment still needs to be done.
Fantastic. And Annabel, so if an accounting firm has obviously been through, like Matt, and has sort of taken a sensible approach to GDPR, what should they do to sort of keep complying with the rules? So are they done now, or do they keep needing to keep going?
Well, they finalised the Act of Parliament yesterday, which was nice. So we haven't got a long history of what does it mean. So accounting firms who feel they're compliant should, one, keep an eye on what is happening, because the ink's barely dry on the law. And two, GDPR is a process. It's a way of working. It's a way of being secure about data. So you could never really say the job's done. You're going to have to look at, have we changed the way we're working? Is there a new risk? Is there something different we need to do? Not every day, but I'd certainly recommend a 6-month review when this beds in, and then annually. And any time you implement new software or new systems, you've got to have in your mind, is this secure? Because lots of people have bought software, they never ask that question.
There's been a lot of hype around the level of fines that you can attract for non-compliance. There have been a lot of scare stories out. I've seen loads on LinkedIn about you could be fined $20 million or something like this along those lines. I mean, just in practical terms, can you just first of all talk us through, hopefully debunk the sort of fines myth, but also sort of talk us through how it would actually work? Like how would you get reported to the ICO? What needs to happen?
Well, there are a number of ways you could be reported. One could be that you might actually be spamming people in your marketing, which would be very unusual for accountants. My observation is accountants usually market too little rather than too much. But if enough people report you to the ICO as a spammer, they'll have a look. But given the scale of your rival spammers, we are probably talking tens of thousands of people this year before they get to you. One report isn't going to do it. The other one is, if you have a data loss, you are going to have to notify the people whose data you hold, and depending on the scale of it, the Information Commissioner. But there are other things that could bring you in. For example, if you work for a larger organisation and they have a data loss and they report it, you might get tangled up in an audit.
Could you just define a data loss for us? Just one or two examples?
Well, if you lose control of the information you hold, if someone hacks your site, if someone successfully phishes your data, or little things. If you work on a laptop and you leave it on the train, the Ministry of Defence are good at that, all the spies, Good idea to have your laptop encrypted, because if you lose your laptop and it's not encrypted, you're going to have to treat that as a data loss. If you lose your laptop and it is, you may be able to assess it as not, because no one can read it.
Fantastic. And Matt, what plans have you got maybe for the next sort of 3 to 6 months in terms of GDPR?
Sure. So we need to make sure we follow up with our staff training, make sure everyone's clear on these policies that we've put in place, make sure our clients are clear at the same time. And yeah, the point about new suppliers is really important. The regulations around international transfers are a little bit ambiguous, I would say, in terms of the guidance that is being offered as to how to deal with that. So we will be passing data to a lot of tech companies, and as we're here today, we're talking to new partners. So we need to make sure we know where the data's held, if there is an international transfer involved, what mechanisms and what our contracts say about standard contractual clauses, is a common method of being compliant.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And Ian, I'll leave the final word to you. Anyone who's through GDPR may well know that next year is e-privacy.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment we've got the Privacy and Electronic Communication Regulation, and the e-privacy rules are going to come in and kind of do what GDPR has done for the Data Protection Act and kind of come in and replace it, so to speak, in a very basic way. How that comes into effect, I think is going, I think a lot of it is going to end up being affected by, for example, the case law and the questions that come through from the ICO judgments and that kind of thing over the next year about GDPR, because in essence, these e-privacy sections that are coming in 2019 are basically going to just, they're going to be a specific focus of a part of area covered by GDPR, but kind of just focus on cookies and probably like PCR does direct marketing and that type of thing. So it's how it's going to be, I have no idea. Not a clue.
Well, it's something to look forward to anyway. So we could talk for hours on this, but I'm afraid we have run out of time for today. Thank you to Ian, to Matt and to Annabel for your time. For everything on GDPR and the big wide world of accountancy in general, we're accountingweb.co.uk. Thank you for watching and goodbye.